it's time for the Week 17 awards, whether it's Offensive Player of the Week, Defensive, Rookie, Coach, etc. MDS joins us. We say good afternoon to MDS, and as always, we started off with him on the first topic, Offensive Player of the Week for the final week of the regular season.
Well, for Week 17, I wanted to recognize a few players we haven't talked about much, and so I started with Isaiah McKenzie of the Bills, who I don't think we've mentioned at all this year. And he had 2 receiving touchdowns, and he kind of exemplifies to me what I think makes this Bills team so dangerous is they just have so many different ways they can beat you. I don't know if there is a team in the league. Maybe most people would say the Chiefs, but I just think about when I'm thinking about how would you go about stopping this team, the Bills, the way their offense is playing right now, I don't know if there's a team in the league, I would say, gives you more headaches if you're trying to figure out how you're going to stop them than these Bills.
MDS, you know exactly how to stop the Tennessee Titans, and yet very few people can do it, and that's to stop Derrick Henry, and that's why he is my player of the week. They needed that win to win the division. It took all 60 minutes for them to do that, 41-38, a last play field goal to beat the Texans, and they needed every one of Derrick Henry's yards, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 34 carries. We saw what he did late last season and into the playoffs, and here he goes again. Over 2,000 yards, just a terrific season, 5th most in NFL history. I'm sure he will get Offensive Player of the Year, 3 200-yard games, just outstanding player all year long, but specifically in this game. And as they go forward, that's who all these teams, whoever they play, we know the Ravens are up first, and they couldn't do it last postseason. Can they stop Derrick Henry this postseason, Mike?
Yeah, and it got so bad on Sunday for the Houston Texans defensively giving up those yards that Eric Dickerson actually was nervous that the game was going to go to overtime and that Derrick Henry was going to get to 21:06 with the extra time in the game. And I could have seen that happening. He needed 79 yards. It would have been a thing of beauty. They got the ball on their 20, and off he goes for 80 yards to break the record in overtime. And Eric Dickerson, because Mike Tirico said the other night on one of the digital tapings that we do after halftime of the Sunday night game that Dickerson was texting with Jim Gray and Jim Gray was texting with Mike Tirico that Dickerson was getting nervous during the game about that very eventuality. All right, my Offensive Player of the Week is Antonio Brown. We got to give him some love. He finally had a huge impact on a game because Mike Evans got injured. And it shows that in the event that Mike Evans can't play this weekend against Washington, they'll be fine or close to fine with Antonio Brown. He had 138 receiving yards on 11 catches and 2 touchdowns. He hit one of his $250,000 incentives. He had 3 of them in all based on catches, 1 on yards, 1 on touchdowns. But he had a major impact. That's why Tom Brady wanted him there. And this Buccaneers team is peaking at the right time. Yeah, they'd love to be playing at home. They would have loved to have won the division. They would have loved to have had the bye week. But they're happy with where they are. They got that 5 seed going against a team with a losing record. Pencil them in for the divisional round, and I think they could really make some noise, especially if Antonio Brown plays like he did on Sunday. Next up, Defensive Player of the Week for Week 17. MDS, who do you have?
I have Troy Hill of the Rams, who had that big pick 6 at the end of the first half. You know, the Cardinals were winning at that point in the game, and they were in field goal range. Right before halftime, Troy Hill grabs the interception, runs it 84 yards for a touchdown. That was at least a 10-point swing. And, you know, Troy Hill also had a pick 6 in the Week 13 win over the Cardinals. So he played very well in 2 very big games for the Rams down the stretch. He's not the first guy we mentioned, not the second or third guy we mentioned when we're talking about the Rams, but I think he's an important part of what they do. And one of the reasons I think the Rams defense is going to be pretty tough to score on in the postseason.
MDS, the Giants obviously thought they were playing for something when they were playing the Cowboys, and as it turns out, as we all know, they weren't playing for anything, but they still played a heck of a game. And I'll tell you who had the best game for the Giants, and that's Leonard Williams. Just an unbelievable effort, 7 tackles, 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, 3 tackles for loss, and a pass breakup. And he had the 2 biggest plays of the game. The Cowboys had 1st and goal and could have gone ahead in this game late in the game, and Williams sacked Andy Dalton for a 10-yard loss, and then 2 plays later, he actually got pressure on Dalton that forced the interception that won the game for the Giants. Just outstanding, and I think he's proving that the Jets were right when they spent that high draft pick, number 6 overall in 2015 on Leonard Williams, but he's proving it for the Giants, and I think he's made himself a big payday coming up this offseason, Mike.
My defensive player of the week, Darius Leonard, the linebacker for the Indianapolis Colts. You know, he's the heart and soul of that defense. After he had the strip sack of Mike Glennon, and the Colts recovered, and he was pumped. He's got the leadership, he's got the drive, he's got the talent, he's got everything that defense needs. And this game coming up in Buffalo could be his career shining moment. It's going to take a lot to be competitive with the Bills, but when you combine Jonathan Taylor's running ability at 235 yards on Sunday against the Jaguars, and that defense, when it's firing on all cylinders, who knows what the Colts could do. And, you know, it was the Bills beating the Dolphins that gave the Colts their ticket to the postseason. The Colts can show their gratitude by going to Buffalo on Saturday and ending prematurely the Bills' playoff party. I doubt that that's going to happen, but I'll tell you what, when the Colts are hitting, as I said, on all cylinders, they're as dangerous as anyone in the AFC, potentially. Okay, Rookie of the Week time, MDS, who do you have?
I have Jerry Judy of the Broncos, and I've been a little down on him this year. I felt like if you compare his production to that of some of the receivers drafted after him, he comes up a little short. But I have to say, I was watching that game. I don't think many people were against the Raiders. He had a 92-yard touchdown that was actually the longest reception in the NFL all season, finished with 140 yards, and really showed the promise that he has. And I'm going to be interested to see this year in Denver with John Elway stepping away. What will the new GM do? How will the new GM build this team? How much independence will the new GM have to go in a different direction than John Elway? All of those are interesting questions to me. But one thing I think is very clear is they do have a good young wide receiver in place in Jerry Judy.
MDS, the Colts were running all over the Jaguars, and suddenly they forgot about Jonathan Taylor, and then they came back to him, and he showed what they had been missing in the middle of that game. It might have been a bigger blowout than what it turned out to be if they had relied on Jonathan Taylor in the middle part of that game, but he still finished with 253 yards. It set a franchise record. Edgerrin James had the old record of 219 in the year 2000, and he's just been outstanding, Jonathan Taylor has, over the last 6 games. He's averaged 123.5 yards and scored 5 touchdowns, and they're going to lean on him hard this week in Buffalo, Mike.
I knew when I said 235, it didn't sound right. It was 253. He had more than Derrick Henry. He had, I didn't realize, tied for the second most by any rookie in league history at 253, tied with DeMarco Murray. Impressive performance at a time when a guy's supposed to be hitting the rookie wall. I remember one of the concerns about Jonathan Taylor, all the carries he had at Wisconsin, too much wear and tear, and he's on a tear right now, and that's going to be one of the ingredients for the Indianapolis Colts if they want to have a chance against Buffalo on Saturday. My Rookie of the Week, J.K. Dobbins, who was the key piece of that machine that generated 404 rushing yards for the Ravens. 404. Think about what we've discussed so far this segment. Derrick Henry with 250. Jonathan Taylor with 253. The Ravens with 404. And Dobbins had 160 of those. What the hell has this league become? I thought it was a passing league. Not this Sunday. And Sims said earlier this week that this is just part of the cycle. That with the defenses being spread out and trying to spread out and cover the receivers, that teams are seeing openings running the football. Guys don't tackle like they used to, and there's an opportunity to gash teams in the running game. And the Ravens gashed the hell out of the Bengals on Sunday. All right, Coach of the Week time, MDS, who do you have?
I have Bruce Arians, who I think has really got the Buccaneers peaking at the right time. I'll also give a little credit to the Buccaneers offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich. Since their bye in Week 13, they had the latest bye week in the league. They went 4-0 after the bye. They're averaging 37 points a game. They're averaging 448 yards a game since the bye. They really have their offense playing very well at the right time. And I really like the coaching matchup we get in the playoffs. Bruce Arians and his offense, Ron Rivera and his defense. I think that's a better game maybe than people are giving it credit for. Obviously, Washington has a losing record and made the playoffs anyway. I think that might be a more entertaining game than we think.
Kevin Stefanski won't be with the Browns this week, but he was with them last week, and his 11 victories were the most in team history for a first coach since Paul Brown, which was ages and ages and ages ago. But he got him to the playoffs, and they now have an opportunity to go to Pittsburgh and see if they can knock them off without all these COVID losses that they're going to have, and without Stefanski on the sidelines. But he has done a terrific coaching job this year, Mike, and shown that he was the right choice for the Cleveland Browns finally.
Yeah, I think he is ultimately going to win the AP Coach of the Year award because he made the playoffs. Brian Flores didn't. If Brian Flores had and Stefanski hadn't, I think it would have been Flores. But one guy who may steal away some votes, who knows? Sean McDermott, coach of the Bills. He's my coach of the week for one very simple reason. The Dolphins went into Buffalo playing for their playoff lives. The Bills already had either the 2 seed or the 3 seed, and as it played out, they would have had the 2 seed even if they'd lost. And they still pounded the crap out of the Miami Dolphins, 56 points. It was like McDermott didn't want to take his foot off the gas. He got freaked out, I think, by the Cole Beasley injury, week 16. But at the same time, when you're in that zone, when it's clicking, when it's working, you don't want to stop. And that team right now is the most dangerous team in the NFL. We'll see if they can continue it on Saturday. But right now, they're the best team in the NFL, and McDermott deserves credit for keeping them at that level and scoring 56 points against a Dolphins team that had led the league in scoring defense coming into that game. Now, not.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.